Hey there, speculators. It's Roderick, lead futures trader, T3Live.com, where I trade futures every day for daily income on the VTF at T3Live.com/futures. Hey, in honor of the Markets in Turmoil special on CNBC tonight and the volatility or the VIX going over 25, I thought I would use this opportunity to do the VIX 25 strategy, teach it to you for absolutely free. This should probably only take about 5 minutes or so. And very often when you're creating educational content or doing broadcasts like this, you are told, hey, keep it very generic so people can learn and watch it at any time. But this is actually a strategy that works best to actually create this video when the conditions exist, because we only see this about 5 trading days a year, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. Sometimes the condition can exist for quite a while. But at the time I'm making this, the markets are continuing to decline, and they're doing that pretty dramatically in the overnight sessions in the futures markets. We trade futures very often because they trade 23 hours a day. They give us a lot of opportunities. So tonight I'm going to teach you again the VIX 25 strategy. Before I do that, I want to remind everybody that this video is for educational purposes. You can pause it right here to learn more about the risk disclosures and disclaimers at T3. Thank you very much. Okay, so here is the VIX 25 strategy. Okay, here's the ingredients or the conditions, what you're going to need. So you got to be able to find the VIX front month or spot price. On most platforms, you should be able to just pop in VIX, VIX. I actually use the VIX futures continuous contract, but that doesn't really matter. I'll show you in just a moment. We're just going to look up the good old VIX, and I can show you how you can get that on TradingView, which is a free platform you can get online. Next is the prior session must exceed 100% ATR. I'm not going to go into ATR in this particular lesson very much, very detailed, in much detail. But somewhere on the channel here, you can find plenty of other videos where I've talked about ATR. And I do have a course called Futures on Fire Foundation, which you can find out more about in the description below. And you can find out more about the average true range and how you measure it. I'll show you very briefly in this video tonight. You do need to have the 7-day ATR for the instrument you're going to trade. In tonight's example, I'm going to use the Nasdaq 100 or the Nasdaq futures market. The prior session low indicator, you have to be able to plot on your chart what the prior session low was, the low for the prior session. And you do have to do this with futures stock indices. I get asked a lot whether you can do it with equities and things like that. I know there's some that trade kind of after hours and things, but that's the deep end of the pool. I do it with the futures markets, and I only do it with the stock index futures, not with gold or crude oil or anything else. Just generally just with the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. Occasionally I'll throw in the Dow and the Russell on that. Okay, so those are the ingredients that you need. And here's how it works. So before I do that, let's just make sure we have all of our ingredients present. So here is the volatility on the S&P 500 index, a derivative of a derivative. Traded in a range today between 24, let's just call it 25 and 29, closed at 27.5. So we have our first condition met. VIX is over 25 and it closed over 25. By the way, at the time I'm making this video, it is about midnight Eastern, and you can see the markets are selling off yet again. So these are significant declines, 50 points in the S&P, 150 points so much in the Nasdaq. You can see 435 points there in the Dow Jones. So we're not kidding around with these numbers and the kind of volatility that we have. And if I had a real-time quote on this, I can tell you that this is actually trading in the futures markets significantly higher again. All right, so we have our first condition met there. Now what we need to do, just really quick, it's probably best that I actually show you how to do this. I'm going to come over to the Nasdaq futures here. I'm going to come up. I'm going to go to indicators and strategies. I'm going to go to built-ins, and I'm going to go to average true range right here. I'm going to apply it once. I'm going to hit there, and I'm going to change the period from 14 to 7. I'm going to go to inputs, change it to 7. The default for most indicators is 14 for some reason. And let me just move this out of the way. And we have our number. It's 225. It's actually 237 in a different platform, but it depends on the platform. But let's use 230. We'll say 230. So what does that mean? That's the amount of distance or the amount of range that the Nasdaq futures contract is trading on a daily basis now, 230. And if you're not familiar with this at all, I can tell you that's excessive. That's above the any kind of moving average or norm. The average is more like 120. So we're almost about almost 200% of what's normal. So that's 7-day ATR. We have the VIX over 25. We have everything that we need to do to construct our little strategy. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to choose a stock index future contract. I'm going to use the NQ. We're going to calculate 20% of the ATR of, let's say 20% of 230, which again, I'm not that smart. I think that's 46, somewhere in there. And we're going to add 5% for every additional 1 point the VIX closed above 25. It closed at, let's say, 27. So basically, we're going to take 30%. We're going to take 30% of 235. That's going to be our number. Then we're going to place a buy limit anytime after the reopen. If you're not familiar with futures, they close for a very short period of time, and then they reopen at 6 p.m. Eastern, and they trade from 6 p.m. all the way through the 4 p.m. close the next day. So they're basically 23-hour markets. Then we're going to place a buy limit anytime after the reopen at the calculated percentage below the prior session's low. All right. VIX is over 25. It's actually at 27. We're going to take 30% of our 7-day ATR. Our 7-day ATR was 235. So since I went to California schools, as I often say, I'm going to grab the calculator. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say 235 times 0.3 is going to give me my level, which is 70. Let's just call it 70 points. Okay, that's a number I can kind of get a hold of. Now what I need to know is I need to know what the prior session's low is, because I'm going to place this buy stop 70 points below the prior session's low. Okay, it doesn't matter if price is trading below the prior session's low at the time that you're going to calculate this. Whether it's bounced off in the overnight session or it's trading lower. I think we're actually below prior session's low right now is the time I'm going to place this order. It's going to be a live order. It's going to be real. I'm going to place it in a real market, and we're going to take a look at it here. All right, so we're going to place it 70 points below that price. And these are extreme levels. Again, you saw that the Nasdaq right now is down 140 something points or something like that. All right, so we have everything we need. Let me just come back to the template just so we remember again. Okay, we're going to use the Nasdaq right here. We are going to, whoops, I didn't want to do that. We're going to use the Nasdaq. We're going to calculate 20% plus 5%. That's going to give us 30%, and we'll place a buy limit. All right, let's shut up and do it. Move this out of the way. It's not letting me grab it. Okay, here is the Nasdaq March contract, and this green dotted line down here is the prior session's low. I have it dotted in green because it indicates a potential level for a bounce so that you'd want to be a buyer. This is on a higher time frame. It's called the range trader. We're not doing any of that tonight. We're just talking about placing this order. So we got 87. I'm just going to make it easy, 87.10. And just so I don't mess this up at all, let's go ahead and clear this and say 87.10 minus 70 equals 86.40. That's where our buy stop is going to go. Buy limit is going to go. 86.40 is where our buy is going to go. Right here, 86.40. Doesn't have to be perfect. Down a teeny bit. There we go. 86.40. All right. Now, I do not use a stop on this. These are extreme conditions, and a meteor could hit the Earth. And the circuit breakers don't go on until 5 or 6% in these markets. So the last time I saw circuit breakers, the only time I've seen it in my 20-year career actually is the night of Trump's election. That was the only time I ever saw a circuit breaker halt on the stock index futures. So anyhow, I'm not going to place it there. If you do have to use a catastrophic initial stop, I would suggest it is also 20% ATR. So 20% ATR, as we saw, was about 46 points. Okay, 46 points in the Nasdaq full contract is a little over $800. That is a big amount of risk. So you need to make adjustments for your own account size, your own condition. You could also trade this with micros. So this is $20 a point. The micro is $2 a point. I have a lot of videos where I talk about better off dead. $2. All right, so that's it. I'm going to also rest this in the S&P, and I'm also going to rest it in the Dow. They're all going to be pretty correlated, and it could either be a ho-hum, wake up tomorrow, and I hit my desk about 7:30 Eastern, about 4:30 Pacific out here on the left coast. And let me show you what happened today, because this is what happened today in the bottom fishing. This is called the VIX 25 bottom fish. So it says bottom fish trade massive winner today, right there. So that was today. Okay, this is one contract in the S&P, one contract in the Nasdaq, $4,000, one contract in the Russell. Now, how is that even possible? Here's the actual trades right here. And what's interesting is, so this day was a very profitable day. I don't know, the account was up maybe $7,900, something like that. And these are the trades right here that were all the profit, just single lots, one in, one out. And then all this is my day trading. Okay, the day trading was profitable here too, which is fine. But look at all these trades. And that's true. I trade very actively. My strategies trade very actively when the market is pretty volatile there. But that's a hard way to make an easy living. This is an easy way to make it easy living. Now, again, could the meteor have hit the Earth? Could the news flow that's leading to this current volatility, which happens to do with a world health crisis or concerns about what's happening with this health conditions? Because again, the VIX 25, the next time the VIX is over 25 for a sustained period of time, it'll be something else. You know, history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. You've probably heard that. There's probably plenty of other adages we could come up with. But this was 4:11. These are my time. That's 4:11 in the morning. That's 4 in the morning. So that's about 7 Eastern, the equivalent of essentially 2.5 hours before the stock market opens. And that's 3:49 in the morning, so the middle of the morning. So I'm asleep with my VIX 25 trades in that I've already calculated based on exactly what I've shown you. And I don't remember a time in which there's been back-to-back nights when now the VIX was over 25 2 sessions ago. It was over 25 yesterday, and it was over 25 today. Yesterday we got filled, the day before we didn't get filled, and then we'll see what happens tonight on our orders. We are resting again that I think about 86.40 in the Nasdaq. I know I've covered a lot of ground and went through a lot of concepts that might be new to folks, especially if you're not even familiar with futures, but the takeaway is, again, you can use the systematic approach using the volatility of the instrument called the ATR to actually do what you're taught to never do, which is pick a bottom and pick an extreme bottom and pick a bottom where if you get filled and you're right, the risk reward is significant when you're buying at these kinds of lows and these kinds of extreme conditions. If you'd like to learn more about how you could get involved in this or you just dig this content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. It really helps out the channel, and you'll be notified of when myself and other colleagues are broadcasting here at T3 Live. So again, like, subscribe, and comment. I read all the comments. And also, if you're not familiar, you can turn on that little notification bell somewhere on your YouTube interface, and you'll be notified the next time that I broadcast. My name is Roderick Casilli. I'd like to remind you to always stay green and trade like you mean it. Have a great evening, stay safe, and welcome this volatility. Things are on sale, everybody. Pick the right spots, pick the right bottoms, stay green, trade like you mean it. Thanks.